Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Zaayin Salaam MD. She is a doctor and an energetic healer and an author. Welcome to the show, Zaayin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online format. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk about. We will talk about the power of love for humanity's survival. So, my first question to you, Zain, is to understand you are a doctor. You have written a book, so we'll come to that book also. But you talk about the power of love. When a doctor talks about the power of love, one must listen to it much more carefully. So I want to understand, why do you put so much of emphasis on love? Generally, people talk about other things, especially doctors will talk about love, obviously, but much more other things related to medicine. Help us with this perspective of yours.
Yeah, I had no idea I would be writing a book about love or the power of love, but it's something I learned myself in this journey while I was writing the book, and it changed me. And so it's one of those things where I have discovered this, and so I must share it with the world. And when I talk about power of love for saving humanity, it's literally like more on a scientific level, if you can imagine love as this type of energy that fuels us. If And we're not talking about like literally make sure you're loving everyone around you, make sure you're loving everyone on the street. No, it's like just meditate on the idea of love itself. You don't have to give of yourself to another beyond what you can, but just think about the idea of love itself and the feeling. When you start feeling it, it changes you. It elevates your mind slowly, slowly, and sometimes really fast. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about the power of love to save humanity. And I just want to put that in because some people might get turned off, like, oh man, I have so much to do. I have so many duties. I have so many things to do. I have these people I'm supposed to love. How can I love everyone? You don't have to love everyone. Honestly, it starts with loving just yourself and loving just the idea of love and life. And that sort of grows in us, it changes us. I could
Absolutely.
go on and on
Well,
about it.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But and we will certainly talk about. We will focus it around that itself and much more larger questions around it. So your new novel, you call it "With Love from Planet B."
Yeah.
On one side, you talk about the love here on planet A, if we understand planet Earth, and
Yeah.
where the love is almost gone among humans. It's almost, so empathy is gone, so many other things are gone, and we are looking at love now from planet B. How will that happen? Why did you call this novel "With Love from Planet B"? I want to understand. This is nice title, I love it. I want to understand, why love from planet B? Why not love from within planet A itself?
That's a good question. So initially, the book was called just Planet B. And it was a sci fi fiction about the future where climate change is destroying the Earth and they discover a new planet and they need to teleport to this new planet. But it turns out that they have to earn their way in because this new planet won't let anyone inside. And while when they get to Planet B, finally, they are told that the humans on Earth have these three spiritual diseases and they have to cure themselves and survive and evolve in order to survive on Planet B. During the writing of that, I discovered love. Like, I had profound experiences, even I would say like spiritual experiences. However, the whole book became sort of like this message. If you imagine these imaginary aliens who are teaching us like about a lot of things, including love, and they're teaching it to us in a loving way. And that's how the book got its name. It's
Right.
sort of like a message to all earthlings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In terms of when you talk of climate change and then the three diseases, which are the biggest challenges for humanity if we see today? Is it climate change? Is it all the love gone of our lives? Is it something else? Help us understand so that we deal with these challenges as per the priority that we may decide to.
Oh, well, if you if you put it that way, I would say the biggest challenge is I would say our addiction to oil and fossil fuels, and our reliance and dependence on them. Those are the biggest challenges. Love flows freely, especially once we are not so stressed anymore, once we're out of these problems that hypnotize us, or sort of like things that aren't really true problems, but we think they are, and all the infighting between us. Love can definitely solve that. However, and of course, love can help us get over our addiction to fossil fuels. But for most people, speaking on a practical level, it's the fossil fuels. It's the pollution. It's basically all the factors that go into climate change. And that's no easy answer, because there are very, very powerful corporations who benefit from selling us oil. So maybe our
Right,
love for ourselves will help us break free of that addiction to fossil fuel.
right, right. You talk about spirituality, that you should people should read or listen to spiritual books. Will that Is that the answer for us? How does that relate to the biggest problem that you just uh, talked about? Will that help us, or is it more required for us to deal with this big problem about our addiction to fossil fuels?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch your question. Are you saying is spirituality the
Yes,
answer?
yes, yes. You talk about that people should read or listen to spiritual books. Will will that be the answer? How does that work at this point in time? And then I'll come to the other diseases also that you talked about in your book.
Yeah, I think we have bad connection. I'm assuming your question was, will spirituality help us?
Yes,
Spirituality will help those who are inclined that way. In no way am I saying everyone should become spiritual. Um, there will be people who are entirely practical, who come up with great business solutions of how to switch us from fossil fuel to alternative energy. There will be people who are purely scientific, who will be doing a lot of work. And there's a lot of alchemy that happens in science. If for example, like sometimes when scientists actually go and join a meditation group, and when this one meditation group I go to, doctors have some of the highest experiences there, because they've read all the books, all that cellular knowledge is in their mind, and on top of that, now they're doing these deep meditations. So there's spirit in all of us, whether we are purely focused on business and finances and how to make an economy work, or whether we're purely scientific and we don't want to do any of the woo woo stuff, and we're thinking, I don't want this spirituality, I just want the scientific facts. That also is pure. And there's a purity spirit in that as well. So I'm not saying spiritual people are going to fix the planet. It's just at the end of the day, when we've done everything and we're tired and we're just kind of, we want to turn inward and maybe read a good book. In that sense, a book that, at least what I wanted to read, a book that does have science and spirituality mixed in, and all of it touches all of our feelings, it can have a good healing effect on us. It can like take us deeper and really make us understand and appreciate, like, oh yeah, I forgot all the little things in life. Stuff like that. I hope that answers your question.
yes, yes, indeed, indeed. And but the problem nowadays is that when you talk about things a bit spiritual,
Hmm.
when people try to explain things which cannot be explained with the with the normal knowledge that we have got, people start questioning in terms of rationale. Nothing wrong with that. But, people start looking at spirituality purely from our understanding of, say, science or anything that we know till now. How do we calibrate both things? You talk about navigating, for the spiritual community without insulting their intelligence. How do we do
Yeah.
that? And that is why intelligent people keep quiet, even though they have good ideas about spirituality. And some people who do not have intelligence, they talk about spirituality without looking at it from the prism of also the rational part of it. So it's very difficult to, to know exactly, to have a good discussion on this sort of a thing, which can be a lot of, good insight into understanding of ourselves as well as the universe itself.
Absolutely. That is such an important topic. That is such an important question. And I hope I can do it justice. I was actually just watching a live on TikTok about this man who starts off with spiritual symbols and he somehow gets to how the earth is flat. So he thinks he's very spiritual too, and I'm sure he is, but absolutely there's a huge problem, especially in the modern era. Everyone is suddenly a spiritual expert, everyone is a guru, and they know all these secrets from the past and the future and aliens. It is it's quite
Yeah,
entertaining. But when and I absolutely understand, and this can become a huge problem. Like especially in poor countries and in countries where maybe your access to scientific knowledge and scientific machinery is limited. Yeah, people can spend their whole lives believing in a total lie, being ripped off by scammers. Believing that the Earth is flat. When I say that true spirituality should not insult your intelligence, I mean it 100%. For me, this true spiritual path, when you're on it, it's very personal and it's different for each person. It's different from the religious, which is why we use the word spiritual, and spiritual is a
right,
very broad
right.
word. So you're not following a religion or a school of thought. Hopefully you're not following any spiritual guru. It's basically, you read a lot of books, and for me, I think a lot. Like I can't stop myself from thinking, and my thinking itself became the spiritual path for me because my thoughts started leading me to answers. I would ask questions. I was very passionate when I was younger. I was always talking to God and sometimes angry, like, why is the world this way? And then like, "Okay, what do I do? What's the answer?" And when I was reading science in medical school, I was always constantly as if I felt like I was speaking to the universe and discovering its secrets. That is how my spirituality presents to me. But this is my message for every single person out there. If ever you hear something that you feel like there's a part of you that's questioning it, like, hey, this doesn't sound accurate or this doesn't sound intelligent, you don't have to believe it. And you definitely, it's not important. Nothing, if someone tells you you must believe in this to advance spiritually or you must do this to advance spiritually, you don't need to. All of that is like, let's just put that to the side, right? And I think that's really all I can do is remind people that a true spiritual path will never insult your intelligence. In fact, when like I'm studying hermetics these days, which is a spiritual path of its own, and they tell you the mental body, the mental level is actually higher than some of these levels that people think are spiritual. They have a lower mental level for people. Lower mental level is sort of when people are debating or bickering about issues. And then there's a higher mental level, which is when your mind enters, when you're discovering facts or studying facts in science and studying things that are truths, that are truths. And then going beyond that, sometimes we go into what I call like the gift of spirituality, is when you realize that you don't even need to be on the mental level anymore. You've attained so much. I'm going to use a spiritual term here, but you've attained light in your being, like with all this knowledge that you've gained. And that's when you get to what I say the levels of love and light is. You have done all the science. all the facts, all the good intelligent things. You haven't insulted your intelligence anywhere along the way, and now you realize instead of debating and fighting over this nonstop, we are actually greater than the problem, and we can choose to love, to forgive, and to let go of this problem, to stop fighting over these things. That's one example I would give of how a spiritual person, without insulting their intelligence, can get to that higher level where they're just at peace and they want to spread peace, and make little mental level sacrifices, if I may. Does that make any
Right.
sense?
Yes, yes, indeed, indeed. And to understand it, both talking of spirituality as well as science and as well as intelligence. You bring in energy. You say energy is the link between science and spirituality. Help us understand this energy part. A lot of people nowadays talk about energy, and they have their own understanding. Many people use it for healing, many people use it for other purposes. People look at it from the science perspective. Help us understand what is this link about energy being the link between science and energy and spirituality, and how do we understand, how do we find this energy? Is it external, is it internal, so that we feel energetic about all this discussion?
Okay, so science and spirituality, for many people, it's two sides of the same coin, where, well, more or less, depending on what kind of spirituality. People say science is what we have discovered and can measure and have proven, and spirituality is all the stuff that happens that we can't yet explain. And even then, a lot of scientific minded people will explain things that other people think are supernatural phenomena, etc.
Right.
When I say the link is energy, that's from a direct observation of the spiritual community out there, especially if you're on social media or TikTok or just or in the spiritual shops. There's a gap between, for example, quantum physics. And I used to be that nerd where I would try to read it and understand it. And I'm not saying I understand it. Even top scientists say they don't understand quantum physics. It comes all this way and explaining to you the observer effect, but then there's this gap. Uh, and when you're on the spiritual community side, they're saying all these things, how you create your own reality and your thoughts create your reality. And then they say it's all because of energy. Quantum physics says everything is energy. The spiritual community says, you put your mind to energy will work on that. There definitely is a gap still where we haven't connected all the dots. And that's why, to a pure scientist, a lot of the things that the spiritual community says, how they so easily say quantum physics has proven this. No, it hasn't actually. There's a gap in your theory. So when I say the energy is the link, I mean they're both just kind of stopping at energy and not really explaining how. And I would love to like draw all the lines and figure it out. Um, but right now, the way I meant it is let's let's just keep it at that. Like that's where we are right now, where we don't know this energy and how we understand it. A lot of people say it's our attention. Energy goes where our attention flows, which is hard to argue with. And that's how the spiritual community works. Like give something your attention, and then you're giving it your energy, and then you'll manifest it. Of course, for some reason in the West, when I lived in Pakistan, like Pakistan, India culture is very similar. They're not that focused on manifesting. When we meditate over there or we pray, we do it because it's good for us, because we understand we want to advance our soul. And I think that's really a beautiful thing about that culture. And it's sort of almost unique to us when you leave and you live somewhere else. In the West, when a lot of people meditate or do these things, they're always trying to manifest something, and they're always trying to manifest something material, which I think is quite interesting. Um, but am I claiming that I found the link? No, I'm not claiming that I found the link between spirituality and science. I know it's all in there. How do we get this energy? Energy is like such a wide topic, right? Everything is energy. Even this computer is running on energy. Every single physical thing and non-physical thing is energy. So is it external or internal? I think it's both, and it flows through us. One of the places where science and spirituality link up is again in the East, in places like India, where the yogis have discovered prana energy and breath work and things like Kundalini, which is really blowing up in the West here. Everyone's talking about Kundalini yoga these days and trying to activate it. And sometimes when I go to these meditation retreats, there are other Indians there, and they're just like, they're doing it all wrong. You're not supposed to do it this way. Why are they doing it? It's funny. And then also the ancient Chinese, they had mapped out the meridians of the body, and they called prana chi. And we're starting to measure these energies a little bit. So there is definitely a link, and it's very interesting. So far, it seems to be related to our energy, our breath, our electromagnetic body spectrum, aura. However, when you start Googling these things, there are so many assumptions and lies that come up. Like someone will tell you they photographed the aura, and you read a little deeper and you realize they actually didn't. So there's a lot of ups and downs on this journey. You have to keep vigilant and not let your intelligence be insulted. It's very easy to fall for things, but I'm the sort of person who would rather not believe in things than to believe in everything and end up a little dumber, if I can use that word. And I don't
Not
think
dumber.
it.
This is the smart way of, this is the way of people who are more inquisitive about things and find things. The more better questions you have, the better answers you have. So sometimes being quiet about things, or leaving the judgment till the later on, you discover more things, and the more you discover, the more you learn, and then you also know there is so much to learn. So in terms of coming back to your book, who is this book for? With love from Planet B, is it for everyone? Is it for specific people, those who are danger to the planet, or those who only know that this is the only planet we have as of now?
The book is, well, most specifically, the book is meant for lesbians and the LGBT community. It has two female heroines. I wanted to read a book like this, which wasn't a romance or something silly. I wanted something serious, which has all the problems of the world, so that I don't feel guilty reading it. Because believe it or not, if I read fiction, sometimes I feel guilty as if I'm wasting my time. So I put so many facts and research into this book. And I did give it two female heroines because I couldn't find a book like this with two female heroines. And as you know, like these kind of books are being banned. So I think it's more important to tell our story. And it's sort of like my dad has read this book, right? It's a very clean, very intelligent book. Um, if there's like a young woman or a man dealing with their sexuality and all the guilt and the tension, especially when you're living in a conservative society and even anywhere, there's a lot of reasons that go into these things that people don't talk about or cannot talk about or don't have the words to describe. In the West, it's sort of forced upon you. This is how you were born. You were born this way, and that's it. But there's a lot of women who maybe have gone through trauma, and they're just literally scared of men, or women who, when they were kids, they thought they were boys, and they just developed that way. So this sort of tells that story so that other people can understand why we are the way we are and how it's really not such a big deal. So it's for the LGBT community, but it's also for their parents and their family. And because it's so broad, it doesn't focus on that those are just the characters. Because it's so broad and mostly it's about climate change and science and predictions that are, some of them have already come true, it's for everyone. And I've had people read it who were completely heterosexual, older men, younger men, and they've loved it as well. So I think I managed to do a good job in making it broad for everyone. As for the people destroying the planet, I hope they read it. I don't know if they actually read books. I think maybe they're only reading their finance books.
Right, right. I get. In terms of the diseases, one of the questions you raise about the why is the gender of God more important now than ever? Help us understand this. Why is it important, more important at this point in time?
Yeah. So I feel like the gender of God has always been important, um, but now, um, let's think of it like a little chemical reaction, right? In chemistry, we know that if you have a small amount of a substance, you only have so many reactions taking place. As that substance grows, there's a whole, with every single extra unit of that substance, there's more reactions taking place. So now think of humanity in all of history. We've just been, maybe a few million, and now we're growing into billions, and now we're 8 billion people. Not only are we 8 billion, but we're connected now with the internet, and our collective intelligence is growing. And I really feel like we've reached that place where we know that if there is a creator of the universe, it's not a man, it's not a male, it's not a he. And if we, and this is kind of one of my predictions, people who will keep insisting that no, it is a he, because my book says so. My book has the he pronoun. And and then when you ask them, okay, but are you really talking about the creator of the whole universe being a he, being a man? And that's where some people argue with you. Yes, yes, okay. And some people are like, no, obviously I know God's not a man. That's the difference in the intelligence levels. And one thing that happens is when we know that something is false and we keep doing it. So for example, the intelligent person knows that God is not actually a he, it's not actually a male. But if they keep using the word pronoun he, they're still subconsciously programming their brain. And that is connected to the laws that we have on earth. um, so the more people who realize, if God, if the creator is energy, or it's something we cannot understand, but we know that it's not a human, and it's not, definitely not a man, let's stop calling it that. And then we start freeing up our brain. And when we free up our brain, I mean, my scores went up when I was thinking about this in high school. I was an average student, and I had this epiphany. I read a few books, and I was like, well, why am I still believing God is a he when I know that it's not? And the next exams, I went from an average student to getting almost the second grade in my school, right? That was the only thing had changed, was my mind had been opened up. So even at that level, it has benefits for you. On the worldwide level, we wouldn't have so many laws like we have now. Like, unfortunately, in I don't know about India, but in Pakistan, unfortunately, a woman, if she blames a man for raping her, chances are she might end up in jail. That's how misogynistic the system is. And it's all kind of like a spiraling effect of believing that God is a man. In the US right now, some of the Christians here have become so extreme that they have passed laws where even if a woman is dying from complications of her pregnancy, they would rather let her die. And they're arguing for this. These are men in suits in Congress, and they're arguing why, because it's the word of God and he said so. He said, thou shalt not kill your unborn child. So they're saying, kill the woman, right? All of these are sort of like little insanities that we have when we become disconnected from the greater love that I was talking about. And we become insane, where we're in a first world country where you have everything you need. The doctors are not able to do anything, and the woman is dying in front of your eyes. I think now we've had a few cases. One of the most recent ones was just last week, where she died. So I think right now it's very important for the collective to rise up and say, okay, you guys who literally think a man invented the universe, and you guys are the ones with these laws doing these things to your women, you need to stop. So I think there needs to be an awakening. People need to separate and really clean out their religions, maybe exchange the word God, like exchange the pronouns. And that will just lead us to being more intelligent and closer to love. Another thing they don't realize, because they think God is literally a man, they don't realize it's going to come back to them, right? All of these things, we're just one closed system of human beings, 8 billion of us on this planet. If we keep hurting each other, we're just spreading hurt around. And even if a man thinks, if I hurt a woman, it won't come back to me, it will. We all get old. We all have a soul. The soul doesn't have a gender, you know? So, anyway.
No, I was listening, and you have good reasons. And in fact, it is a. I'm trying to grasp why people who have been given the public support, public will to lead them, they do not look at the pragmatic part of things, where it has to be things about women, life, when all these things have to be looked at with simplicity. And what yeah, uh, sorry,
Hey,
are you getting me? I'm very much. Yeah,
I
just
cannot see
one
your video
second.
and I missed some of
Yes,
what you
yes,
said.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, now I'm back.
You're
Can you
back
see
now.
me?
Yes.
Right, right. Sorry for that.
It's okay.
I forgot to plug in this charger thing, and it suddenly I
Oh.
realized that there is no power. But we are where the power of love exists. About God wants us to carry on with this discussion. Well, let's forget about the gender for now. But in terms of means, I'm as I said, I'm trying to understand why things about life and death be left to the people who know about it. And the most important thing is life itself, and that is the where you use all your pragmatism and no debate about anything else. Nothing should else should come in between. And this is, I guess, more understanding is required about these things. Even a child would understand that if a woman needs help, medical help, or whatever reason it is, the life of that woman is more important than any other reasoning that anyone else is. And this goes across the world. But I guess maybe with time people will understand. If not, they will have to, as you said, the soul has no gender. They will have to answer to themselves whenever they are. This is a long life, whatever short, however short we may want to tell it, and they have to answer. Be that as it may, Zain, there are so many. You have made quite a number of predictions, and some have already come, as you have mentioned. In terms of the humanity itself, the way we are moving forward with artificial intelligence coming in, I don't know it will be helping us or it is a threat for us. How do you look at? Would you like to predict our future, say for in the next 5 years or 10 years? Even predictions like this, in terms of that, will people who have lost their mind about even very practical things like that, those we discussed right now, will they change their course? Will they have that course correction to see what is actually needed for humanity, so that we everyone gets a chance to be part of this whole thing called humanity, so that everyone feels part of the mainstream and not feel excluded, whatever the reasons, whatever the way they look, they feel, their choices, whatever. That's what we make countries and constitutions and everything else for. I want to understand get your prediction for the days in the future.
I don't have a one simple prediction. I had a lot of small ones that I put in the book. I think a lot of it depends on each person and the work that they do for themselves. Um, for example, will people realize? We don't know, because it seems like in a lot of ways, at least in the US, we're going backwards um, as far as rights, human rights, and things like that are concerned. As far as AI goes, I think it'll again be both, sort of like how our lives right now are. We're dependent on a few corporations. Imagine those corporations have now established with artificial intelligence, so there's not even a human you can speak to. It's just the algorithm, and now you're kind of enslaved to this algorithm. But I'm a little more I'm sorry, optimistic about that. I think that if we worked hard, we could definitely ensure that the AI works for us and not the other way around. Is the other way around possible? It's very possible, especially given the kind of people and leaders that we have. We have leaders who, and when I say leaders, I don't necessarily mean countries. I mean the people who are in charge, running the show, programming the AI. I read a little news article recently where someone who had a very questionable history, had done some wrong things, has now been put in charge of one of the biggest AI endeavors in America. I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but there is a possibility that it can be used to confine us. However, I think we have natural human intelligence that a machine cannot have. There will always be something about our own natural intelligence, how we're biologically connected to the earth and to the environment. And we're going to discover that. Maybe we'll discover the depths of it only when there is an AI in front of us, which is machine. And then we'll realize, okay, I thought this was intelligent, but this is a machine intelligence. And I have human intelligence that I didn't even know. And maybe what we thought was our best intelligence is not our best intelligence. And our best intelligence is something more human. That's actually one of the messages in my book. Because if you're writing about the future, you can't not write about AI these days. So, yeah, I have an optimistic, hopeful idea about AI and the future.
Right, right. And in terms of planet B, do you think we will have to go look for planet B, or we will continue to make this planet A and continue to be very much on this planet itself, and not look for planet B, as many are trying to?
Yeah, Elon Musk is very serious about Mars. You know, he already has a plan, and he already knows how much he's going to pay people. It's really interesting. He wants to pay them 100,000 to go there, but 500,000 to come back, which tells you something. So you're kind
Right,
of, when you, if you go to Mars to work for him, you're stuck there until you have 5 times the money to come back. So people will be looking for Planet B always. I hope we don't forget about Planet A. I hope we don't. I don't think people will. We just need more people to fight for Planet A. Yeah.
right, right. Be that as it may, let people think. The whole idea is, my wish is that, let people be able to share whatever ideas they are. Nothing should stop the ideas just because one person or a group of people do not like it.
Mhm.
Ideas of today will be the reality of tomorrow. And every idea that comes in, that should get a chance at least to be spoken, at least to be shared with whoever they want to. And then it is up to people who may want to adopt, or that idea or not. That's the way the world is. That's the way we have evolved. And ideas do get evolved over time. People learn from. Be that as it may, as I said, many people would like to understand more from you, learn more about your book, about you. So for those people, what is the best way for them to connect with you, Zai?
Yeah, sure. And I would love to connect with them. I have a website. It's called www.planetbthebook.com. You can join me there. You can follow me on TikTok. My TikTok is with love from Planet B, and that's mostly just me being sometimes political, sometimes scientific. It's all over the place. And my book is on Amazon right now for $1, and it's free for Kindle members. It's called With Love from Planet B. And for a lot of people, especially in India, if they cannot afford it, I plan to put my book for free download on my website soon. So please go check the website, planetbthebook.com, subscribe to the website. And when that happens, I will let you know, because I'm from there, and I know that it's not very easy, especially for sometimes young people who are dependent on their parents to just spend dollars online. Soon it should be in print form. The audiobook is now out. It's currently on Audible, but it will be on Spotify and all the audiobook outlets that we can think of. I think there are 45 outlets, My book will be on all of them. It won't be limited to Amazon. I'm hoping to put it for free on Google because Google lets you put books for free. Amazon doesn't. And it'll also be on Apple. So it'll be wide distribution out there. So anyone who wants to read it can read it, and money shouldn't stop them. But just go subscribe to planetbethebook.com. That way I can let you know when it's free.
Wonderful, wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very
Thank
special
you.
edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live.
Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.